I grew up. I was
What?
born in. You good?
Yeah. Go
Yep,
ahead.
Okay.
yep. So we'll go ahead and get started here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Antoine, on the Be Unexpected podcast. Current assistant coach for the University of Nebraska-Kearney today. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're diving a little bit of your story and just kind of share about how you got to where you are today and some things you faced. So you want to kind of share your upbringing a little bit?
Yeah, I was the military kid. I was born in Bellevue, Nebraska, and then my dad got orders, so we moved to Texas for a little bit, and then obviously came back to Bellevue when he got another set of orders. I played my high school ball at Bellevue West under Coach Doug Woodard. I always knew kind of as a kid that that was the coach I wanted to play for. My dad used to take me to games back in the day with, when Coach Woodard was just getting out. I think Josh Doser was like a freshman. Uh, they had a really good guard his name was Zach Fortune, that played at Iowa State. And I kind of modeled my game after him. And he tragically passed in a car accident as well. When he was at Iowa State. But when he was at Bellevue West, that was kind of like my idol and kind of who I wanted to be like, if that makes sense. I ended up choosing to commit to Creighton going into my sophomore year of high school. Dana Altman did a good job recruiting me, and so did Darren DeVries, who is now the head coach at Drake University. And got to Creighton, and freshman year is freshman year. I mean, it's ups and downs. You're trying to figure it out. You were really good in high school, and now you can't put the ball in the basket. You've got so much time on your hands that you think you have because you're not in classes all day. But then you kind of figure out, well, let's call it, kind of all piles up on you. So freshman year was kind of rough, and by sophomore year, I kind of figured it out, and then took off. By going into my junior year, Coach Mcdermottt had came in and took the job when Coach Altman left. So that was a quick transition, but it was awesome because I got to learn from so many different coaches, different styles of play, different coaching methods that now I use today. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise to kind of be under two good coaches like that. After that, I was fortunate enough to go play professionally. I did it for 5 years. I was in Madrid, Spain, Geneva, Switzerland, Amsterdam, played a little bit in Turkey and in Mexico. So kind of seen the world. I always knew I wanted to coach. Going, I would say about 2 months before, actually it was about 2 weeks before I was headed back to my sixth year. Was working out in a workout, ended up breaking my ankle. In a workout, unexpected. I was supposed to leave in like 2 weeks to go back over. And at that time, I was like, well, I always knew I wanted to get into coaching. And so that's kind of what I did. I spent 2 years under Coach Woodard, coaching with him. I think that we won state the two times with like Malik Aluchwaki, those guys, Cade Johnson, all those guys that are now on and gone. But and then I left and I did GA'd at under Ben Limbach, who was still there. He was a great coach, learned from him. And then I went to Pitt State here in MIA and finished my GA under Coach Muff and then Coach Kim Anderson, who was the head coach at Missouri before he came there. And then now I'm in Kearney and off and running. So
Awesome. So like growing up playing basketball, were you always like the best player, or was there a time where like, man, I don't know like how I'm gonna do in basketball?
yeah, no, there was a time where I wasn't the best player, but when I was a kid, it was kind of different. I played all type. I played soccer, I played football, I played a little. I did track. I played baseball. I kind of played everything, and I was just a competitive kid. I really didn't know who was really the best or not the best. I just liked to win. So I think maybe as I got, towards the middle school, and you start to figure out, man, there's some other kids that are pretty good. But I think my love for just sports in general and my competitiveness kind of made me work to maybe get better than maybe guys that were better than me at that time.
Would you recommend to kids to play other sports and not play one sport?
Yeah, growing up, young, I'd play everything. I mean, I wouldn't focus in on one sport. Maybe you don't like that sport. Maybe you got a love for, being a wide receiver. Maybe you got a love for being, a forward in soccer. Maybe you can hit the ball. Maybe you're a shortstop. Um, I think it rounds you as an athlete to see other things in other sports. I think it rounds you as a person, and lets you grow when you see other sports. And the best thing for me is, now when you watch, FIBA, you watch soccer, right? Or you watch gymnastics or you watch baseball, you got a better appreciation for what these dudes are really getting done. You know, I think it's crazy when some people say, if you're athletic in basketball, you could go catch a ground ball in baseball. Well, yeah, that's not happening. Right. So I think it gives you an appreciation for other sports, appreciation for other athletes, appreciation for other people just as a whole.
So talk a little bit about, so you said you were in Bellevue, you moved to Texas, and then back to Bellevue. How old were you, and just what was that like? I mean, were you so young? You're just like, all right, let's just go
Yeah,
wherever.
I probably had finished third or fourth grade.
Mhm.
Um, and we moved, and obviously it's military, but you're used
Yeah.
to seeing friends go, and it's kind of a revolving door in the military, but you meet a lot of people. But at that age, I was just like, Dad, as long as they got, as long as they got a football and a hoop and some soccer, I don't, we can go anywhere. So it didn't really affect me at that time. I just wanted to play sports. So
Yeah. So in high school, I looked up. Did you really? So you scored like over 40 points one game, right? Did you ever score
yeah,
like you scored 47? Is that right?
yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. I can't remember what year it was, but one of those times in high school. So,
Do you kind of remember that game? Or you just like in a zone that you just
uh, yeah, I think I was. I mean, I remember who we played. I think it was Burke, and we were at home, and it just was one of those days where it was rolling. Kind of felt like you were in the backyard playing with your boys, and you just kind of got it going that day.
What was it like? So you went to Creighton. I'm sure you were recruited by some other schools. What was that process like? And you got any funny stories of coaches like calling you in the middle of the night or something like that?
Uh, I went on maybe 4 or 5 visits. I had looked at Creighton. Creighton was heavy on my list just because it was home, and I was really familiar with Coach Altman and Darren DeVries, and Texas was always like my dream school to go to. Um, so the recruiting process, I kind of just went through it and kind of traveled where I needed to go to check out the best spot. The only kind of hiccup, or I guess fun times, but it was kind of crazy for me at the time, is I had committed, and then Coach Altman had left and took the
Mm.
Arkansas job. And so I knew I wasn't going to go to Arkansas. So at that time, I had an offer from Texas. So I was told Texas, like, I'm coming, that maybe that afternoon. And then I remember Coach called me late that night and said he was coming back. And so everything was
Mm.
kind of up in the air for about 48 hours. So Coach Rick Barnes was there at that time at Texas. I loved my visit there. Kevin Durant would have been a freshman that year on my visit. Matt Hill, who played at Lincoln Southeast, was roommates with Kevin Durant. So those two were my host. Got to go to a Texas football game when Colt McCoy and
Mm.
Shipley, when they had that thing rolling. So
Yeah.
I was all Longhorn ready to go
Yeah.
with Coach Bounce. So,
Yeah.
but the recruiting process it was good. I don't think it was crazy stressful for me. I just kind of went through the process and chose the best for me. So
Yeah, experiencing that. I mean, staying with Durant and Matt Hill, going to a Texas football game when they're rolling. I mean, that would, as an 18, 17-year-old kid, seeing that, it's like, how am I not going to go?
oh yeah, no, it was pretty awesome. I had a great time, great experience. And that, like I said, that was my dream school. The only thing that was kind of not scary but overwhelming for me, I'm like, Austin is so big. Like, there's so much to do. There's so much distraction. Like, man, I don't know how I'm getting anything done academically while I'm here.
So as a coach now, what do you think about like the NIL and players just facing adversity? Because like now, if they're not playing, they can transfer whenever. So what do you think about that as a coach?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of the generation that we're going to. I think NLI is awesome. I think players that deserve it should be able to reap the rewards. I don't see anything wrong with that. The transfer rule is kind of how it is, and I think there's two maybe different aspects to look at the transfer portal. Back, then it's if you weren't getting playing time, you fought it out. You found out a lot about yourself as a person, and you went through a little bit of adversity. Well, now you can transfer, and some kids they continue to transfer and run from competition, um, which is probably not the best because when you get in real life, that's what the world is: competition and fighting it out, going through adversity. And on the other hand, I think there is some good to the transfer portal. Some coaches just don't fit that kid, or they don't coach them the way they should be coached, and sometimes it's just not a good fit. So I think there's two different aspects to the transfer portal. The NIL, I think, is perfect. I have no problem with that.
How do you guys handle the transfer portal stuff at UNK with all that? I'm sure you guys use it, or,
Yeah,
what's that like?
yeah. I mean, we've always been kind of that traditional program who's try to get the high school kids and build them till by the time they're sophomores or juniors, they're really good for you. In the past 2 years with the portal hidden, you can't do that in our league anymore. You've got to go and get transfers, and you got to have guys from the portal. So this year is the first time we have transitioned to we've only got 3 high school kids on our team. Everybody else is transfers.
Wow.
And the transfer portal and the league that we're in has dictated that. And it's unfortunate for high school kids right now that are trying to get recruited because they just kind of got the short end of the stick. And the bad part is the transfer portal is not going anywhere. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. And now with NLI, it's just going to grow. So that's kind of how our program's taken the step. I think we took the step this off season, and then when we brought in, when usually we're getting 7 or 8 high school kids, we've only got 3. Everybody else is transfers.
So, like during your playing career, was there ever a moment where you faced some really tough adversity and it really taught you a lot about yourself as a person?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, freshman year, I got to a point. I mean, I sucked. I was bad.
Hmm.
I just, you used to being so good, and now you're on the court with guys that are everybody's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, what are you going to do to separate yourself day in, day out? And on top of that, you're dealing with schoolwork. So I went through probably half a semester where I was just bad, right? Everybody's expecting you to be pretty good. You're not playing well. And I had a choice to make. You either get yourself off the ground and pick yourself up and decide you're going to fight, or you can go the other way and it's a poor me and you blame, other people for what you're not getting done, or kind of the poor me's. And I had my dad had a friend who his son was in the children's hospital, I think that year. and he was battling some issues, and we had went up to see him as a team. My dad had set it up, and I had spent some time with this individual, and that really shed some light to me, and I think kind of helped pick me up in that time or situation, right? Here you are as an 18-year-old kid, you're struggling on the court, you're struggling in the classroom. Well, now you go and spend time with a guy who's fighting for his life, right? That's a little different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, spending time with him really took the poor me aspect out of it. When maybe 18, you're like, man, I'm not playing well. Oh man, poor me. This sucks. I can't. Spending time with him was like, dude, what are we really talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
You got a kid here that's fighting for his life day in, day out, every hour, and you're on scholarship. You eat 3 squares a meal. People treat you right. You play in a big arena. You get to walk to class every day. You get to go out on Fridays and Saturdays, be a true college kid. What's there to really complain about? So that aspect really helped me kind of figure out what's really important in life, and kind of got me going in the right path through that adversity time. And there's times, things don't go right, and it's life. Never, everything's not going to go smooth sailing. And I still look back or look at certain situations where I've visited a nursing home, or I've visited people that have been dealing with things, and it always shines a light on, do you really have it that bad? Is it really that hard to make somebody else's day a better day, rather than consuming yourself with the coffee maker didn't work this morning. You don't like your boss, or it's raining outside. Maybe you got a fender bender. There's bigger things in life, and there's bigger things that people are fighting for every day. And I think if people would just get out of that mindset of me, poor me, and really see some aspects that I got to see as a kid, the world would be a much better place. Not just athletics, but overall. So,
yeah, that's a great point. Putting yourself going and seeing those things makes you really open your eyes, and how thankful we are to be able to move our body, talk, breathe, taste. It's the little things, man. It's
yeah,
crazy.
no question, no
So,
question.
So, going through that experience, like, we wouldn't know. We watched you and we were in high school. You come
Yeah.
on the scene and like, it's like, who is this guy? This guy's great. Like, point guard for Creighton. So, like, going through that experience, how did that help you become a leader for the Creighton basketball team then in your upperclassmen years?
Yeah, I mean, everything I did every day, it just pushed me to work that much harder. It forced me to get out of myself and truly lead a group of teammates that maybe needed some leadership. So that, days that maybe they weren't, feeling as well, I'd go and pick them up. Maybe if they weren't doing things at a level that it needed to be done, you know, you remind them of what maybe they didn't see it, but you remind them of what it could be. Hey man, you know what I just saw? I just went and visited a hospital this morning. I seen a kid in a wheelchair. He's never gonna walk again. Hey, you're coming in here, you're moping, you're pouting, and that shines some light on it. It can once you put that picture and that aspect in somebody's mind, they start to realize, you know what, you're right, right? And I was fortunate to play with really good guys who understood that, and understood that there was bigger things going on in life, and that's how I led. Things that I saw, I try to put into perspective for them. You're gonna have your good days and bad days. That's everybody. Um, but if you can limit, your bad days, and try to put in perspective what's really going on your bad days, I think it helps you lead. I think it helps you be a better person.
so playing for Coach Altman, do you have any like memories or funny things? I know when I was a student manager at UNO, it was just being behind the scenes was kind of cool. There's always funny
Yeah,
stories. You
yeah.
probably got to have a few funny stories with Coach Altman.
Yeah, Coach Altman he never called me Antoine. He always called me A. I'd be like, A. And I remember one time, me and one of my old teammates, his name was Josh Jones, and he was my roommate at Creighton. He played at Omaha Central High School, and we were doing a drill. It's like a one more passing drill, and Josh had, instead of making the extra pass, he had shot it. He just kind of had a brain fart, and Coach Altman goes, "Josh, it's not Josh Jones on the scoreboard. It's the Blue Jays." And that was one of the funniest things ever. But like I said, it's funny having two different coaches. Coach Altman is super old school. Like the dude, if he didn't have to go to a smartphone, he would have never had it. I mean, I think he hung on to the flip phone as long as he could. And he probably still doesn't know you can get email to your phone, but that's just Coach Altman.
That's funny.
That's awesome. So, was out of your 4 years at Creighton, was there one year where you could just tell the team was different and everyone was on the same page and you all just
Yeah.
really clicked?
I would say junior, senior year. Senior year, we were really cohesive. We were really tight. We wanted to get better every day. We wanted to be coached hard, and we wanted to win. And that was the biggest thing. We all wanted to win. There was no agenda individually. And I think that team right there changed the trajectory of the program. And from there, that year, the program just kind of took off, because we left, and then you had guys like Doug, and you had Will Artino, Grant Gibbs. From those teams, like, all those guys understood what it was going to take to win. They all understood good days, bad days, and the bigger aspect of things is, okay, I have a bad day. How do I get myself out of it? Well, I'm gonna remind myself that people got it a lot worse than I do, and those guys understood that, and all they did was push all the newer guys that were coming in and made them understand those things, and it helped us win. And you could see it just keep going and going, and now obviously they're at where they're at. And it started with Coach McDermott. His mindset every day with us, and his things that he put together to show us, when we would go visit kids in the hospital or things like that, and just to make other people's days better. It started with him. He's the head of the snake, and really good coach. And I'm forever grateful for Coach McDermott.
Did you have him for 1 year?
I had him for 2 years.
2.
Yep.
Did you make the NCAA tournament your senior year?
Yeah, we were that year. I think we played North Carolina that third or second round of the tournament. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Nice. So you still watch like a lot of Creighton games when you can? I know you're coaching, so you.
yeah,
I'm
no, I'm the
busy.
first one. I can't get home quick enough to turn the Jays on, or if I got my iPad in the office, I'm watching the Jays. If I can get home and get to a game, I'm always following them. And I talk to Coach McDermott quite a bit, just through text or on the phone, and so I'm fully connected. I got back, went to a volleyball game about a week or two ago when they played LSU. The environment was electric, and like I said, you have appreciation for other sports when you played a bunch of sports growing up, and it was pretty cool to see. So
you're coaching out in Kearney. So when's official practice start, and then when's your first game?
yeah, official will start October 1st. First game is November 18th, I believe. So it is off and running.
Yeah.
What have you learned from your coaching career? How different it is from being a coach kind of on the floor as a point guard?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, coaches always kind of, if you haven't played or if you don't know, like, you kind of always try to analyze maybe what your kids saw or didn't see. And as a player coaching on the floor and now coaching, I'm always like, they'll look at me for guys. I'm like, look, you're playing the game. Like, I'm coaching you, but you're playing. It's everything's through your eyes and what you see and don't see. So, if you take a shot, don't look at me or look at me if you should shoot it or not shoot it. Hey, if you're open, let it go, let it fly. So I take the same mottos that Coach Matt gave me, Coach Darren DeVries, Steve Lutz, who's now at Western Kentucky, Coach Altman. I take a lot of stuff from those guys. Steve Murfield, who's still at Creighton right now as an assistant coach. And I use all their coaching styles and I kind of merge it to me and who I am and how I like to be coached and try to give it to my kids.
Sweet. Well, hey, Antoine, we appreciate you joining us and just kind of
Yeah.
sharing your story, all the Creighton
Yep.
memories, and kind of what you're up to now. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.